Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about how to hit your macros and some really easy actionable steps that you can do that you can take right now to start hitting your macros. And we're going to start with number one. So the first step is understanding why you are hitting those certain macros. Why are certain macros important? Why are you hitting these? The first step, if you have a coach, is to ask your coach, why are my macros set at this point? Your coach is going to explain each one if they haven't already, and explain to you why each one is important. So that's a whole other video that I've made before. So if you want to check that out, you can check that out or ask your coach. So understanding the importance of each macro is going to help with your motivation in hitting each macro and hitting your calories overall, making sure that you're hitting your fiber and, feeling great and going towards your goals. The problem that arises when you're not hitting your macros is you lose that consistency and you don't really know what's working. So if you're not tracking consistently, or you don't really know where your macros are, you might think that you're hitting your protein, or you might think that you're in a calorie deficit, but you will never know unless you are tracking and being honest with it, making sure that you're using a food scale or being consistent in how you're measuring things out. If you're using like hand portion guides, measuring cups, or using a food scale, as long as you're doing it consistently, measuring all the foods cooked every time, not going back and forth between cooked and raw, making sure that things are consistent, you're going to see results. But if you're not managing to track any of these variables, then there is no way that you know what is working and what is not. And this is honestly going to lead to a lot of overwhelm. So again, recap, step one is to figure out why you are hitting your macros and why each one is important to you. Number two is to make a list of each of the macros, each food that you like that fits into each macro category. So for protein, for example, you might make a list of what foods do I like that contain a lot of protein in them. So I would go through what foods are in my fridge, what foods are at my grocery store. If you're in college, what foods are in the lunch hall or the food hall that you go to. If you're, wherever you're at, you can make a list of these foods, and it's going to make it a lot easier for you to hit your macros. So start off protein. Here are a list of my proteins that I personally like. And then I would make a list of the carbs that I like, for example, these ones. And then I would make a list of the fats that I like, for example, these ones. There are obviously going to be foods that have a combination of the macros, and I would use a macro cheat sheet like this to figure out what foods have combinations of macros, and just start looking at nutrition labels. The more you look at nutrition labels, the more you're learning what macros are in every food. And that is the whole point of tracking, is to start learning what is in my foods and what's going to help me get certain macros in and feel good. And once you start thinking in this way, it's going to be so much easier. You're not going to have to pay attention as much and be as tedious. At the beginning, yes, you have to be tedious, but in the long run, you're not going to have to be for forever. So a short period of being uncomfortable and being tedious and learning these things is worth it for, in the long run, not having to do it that much anymore. There are certain foods that I can eyeball. There are foods I know exactly how many macros are in each food. I know, the calories of it. I know how it's going to make me feel after. And that's just from years and years of tracking and knowing what I'm kind of doing. And it takes time to get to that point. So once you have these lists, and don't forget about fiber as well. My fiber list is here. This is what I like to use to hit my fiber goals. And all of these together, now we have these lists of foods that are going to hit my macros. So your next step number 3, is to start planning. How am I going to hit my macros? Think of it this way. When you go to the gym, you don't go without a workout plan and just go in and, you're just walking around, you're confused, you don't know what to do, you barely know, you don't have this plan. So think of it the same way as going into a workout without a workout plan. If you're going into your nutrition without a nutrition plan, then it's going to be hard, it's going to be confusing, it's going to be frustrating. Things are going to feel very overwhelming when you don't have that plan. The same as walking into a gym without a workout plan. So to create your nutrition plan, you're going to use these foods lists that you made of the foods that you like that hit each macro, and you're going to refer to those foods to create your meal plan. So you're making your own meal or nutrition plan and making it your own. So it's going to be something that you like that is going to hit your macros. So I have an entire video on how to do this and how to make it easy, but in just long story short, what you'll do is go into your tracking app, which I like to use MyFitnessPal, and each meal I'm going to select something that has protein, something that has fats in it. I'm going to select my carbs. I like to put my carbs around my workouts to feel my workouts better. That's getting into the getting pretty specific with things. If you're not an athlete or you're not looking to optimize your workout nutrition, then that part doesn't matter. You can put your carbs wherever. Your fats, and then making sure I have some sort of source of fiber with each of those meals. And this gives you that hunger crushing combo. If you've ever heard of Abby Sharp, she talks about this a lot. She is a dietitian on YouTube, and she talks about including fats, protein, and fiber into each meal for a balanced meal that is going to make you feel satiated. So you're going to feel nice and full, and you're not going to feel hungry immediately after, which is not what we want. So anytime you make a meal or a snack on MyFitnessPal, think of your hunger crushing combo, look from your food list that you made, and that's how you're going to plan your meals. The hardest part is figuring out the amounts of each. So again, in that video that I made, it goes into the detail on how to figure out how much of each grams that I need, and it becomes this math problem that can be pretty easy. It's just all about plugging those foods in. Again, refer to that video for step 3 on making your nutrition plan. So the next step, the fourth and final step, is the execution. So how are you going to execute your nutrition plan? And you know, everything is awesome. Everything's great. You have your nutrition plan, but if you don't follow it, it's not going to work. So you can have the most perfect plan, and if you don't execute it, nothing is going to happen, and you're going to feel burnout. You're going to feel this sucks because it's not working, but you're not doing it. So how am I going to execute my nutrition plan? So sit down, think of what days do I have that I have a little extra time, or that I can make a little extra time to maybe meal prep something, or maybe I don't have that time. Maybe it's super busy at my job. I have a lot of work outside of that. I have a business. I have animals that I take care of, kids that I take care of and run around. I don't have the time to meal prep. So what is another option here? Well, you can start doing foods that are pre-prepared. So cooked chicken, cooked meats, cooked vegetables, things that are already cut up. You can buy all these things at the grocery store. You can get your groceries delivered right to your house. Crazy things. You can get meal prep services, things delivered right to you. Everything like this is a possibility. There is always a solution to every problem. So whenever you think of these excuses, like I don't have the time, I don't have the resources, find the solution and make it work. Execute this plan. You're paying a lot of money for a trainer. You're paying a lot of money for a coach. You got to make this work and execute your plan. So once you have the solution to that, how am I going to execute this nutrition plan? That's how you figure it out. Meal planning, meal prepping, figuring out what kinds of foods are going to fit in there, whether it be you're cooking all the foods yourself or you're cooking them ahead of time, freezing, and then microwaving as you go kind of thing. Each person is going to be a little different in this area. Again, I have some videos on meal prepping and what I've done in the past, and I'm sure I will have more of them coming out as well. So I hope that these 4 steps help you in hitting your macros. The whole goal is to get those down and to have that plan and execute the plan. Now for going out to eat, that is a whole other thing that we will cover here soon. I know I don't think that I've made a video on eating out, so that will be in the future. If you like this video, go ahead and like it, comment below if you have, if you agree, if you disagree, anything that, came to your mind watching this video. If it helped you, leave a comment below. It'd be awesome. Share it with your friends, and I will see you guys in the next video.